Lying inside the coast of West Africa, the world's most neglected crisis is unfolding. Three nations, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, are now the victims of military coups, insurgent groups, and humanitarian crises that are splitting the region. Why is this happening? Which actors are getting in the way of solutions, and which allies can help them? To answer, we need to go back to 2011. The Arab Spring is sweeping across North Africa. Regimes are falling to popular uprisings in Egypt and Tunisia. Further south, in Mali, violence erupts between the government and the Touareg rebels, who want to declare an independent state in the north. Dozens are killed, and 60,000 people are displaced inside the country. A further 69,000 flee across the borders. Around 29,000 of these go to Niger, where food shortages are already affecting 7 million people, and a military coup has recently destabilized the country. 18,000 land in Burkina Faso, where soldiers and presidential guards had just mutinied over unpaid allowances, and thousands had been protesting over food prices. The situation is starting to spiral, and France, the former colonial power of the three Sahel states, sees it as its responsibility to spearhead the international response. France had long seen West Africa as its main sphere of influence, even after decolonization in the mid-20th century. In 2008, the region accounted for 5% of French exports, and 240,000 of its nationals lived there. Raw materials like oil and metals were particularly important to support the French economy. At the start of the insurgency, 12,000 French troops were deployed around the world, with 6,000 based in Africa. Two bases in the west formed the backbone of its military presence, in Dakar and Libreville. France had already built up a track record of military action here. Between 1962 and 1995, it had intervened no less than 19 times to protect French nationals or suppress uprisings. Now, with the Sahel unravelling, France would respond again. In January 2013, it launches Operation Serval to repel Islamist fighters in northern Mali. The operation is widely seen as a short-term success, but the mission could not address the conflict's underlying causes, especially the deep fractures in Malian society. Mali's ruling classes, confident that France would protect them from the insurgents, failed to reform their political systems. As the people continue to suffer, army leaders step up and seize popular discontent. France's local popularity, already on shaky ground, plummets. Recognizing their harmful brand image, they start withdrawing their forces in April 2013. In their place, a regional African force is sent to support the Malian army in providing security in the north. Later, in July, a peacekeeping force from the UN, called MINUSMA, takes full responsibility. By now, the insurgency in the Sahel has spread to Burkina Faso. In 2015, Boko Haram insurgents start fighting the government by targeting local police forces. A year later, there is a rise in attacks after the formation of Ansarul Islam, which focuses its activities along the Malian border. France intervenes again. Operations Panga and Bayard are launched in 2017 to fight groups in the Fulsar forest, meeting short-term success. But the rebels scatter and join other militant groups in the region with similar aims. By now, a state of emergency has been called in Niger's western areas. With the crisis getting worse, Niger joins 4 other West African countries to launch a new regional force to confront militants in the Sahel region. But the situation is not contained. In March 2018, 16 people are killed in an attack on the French embassy in Ouagadougou. President Kaboré goes on to win re-election in Burkina Faso, but much of the north cannot come out to vote due to danger from insurgent attacks. This is when military coups start redefining the political landscape. In August 2020, President Keita of Mali is overthrown by the military. The National Committee for the Salvation of the People is established, which promises to hold elections soon. An interim president is inaugurated in September, but the new government is short-lived. In May 2021, Mali suffers another coup, and the military pledges new elections in 2 years' time. West Africa's main political union, ECOWAS, steps in to mediate, but talks fail, and on the 31st of May, ECOWAS suspends Mali as a member. On the 2nd of June, the African Union follows suit. Nearby, the situation is also worsening. In Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré seizes power in a coup in September 2022. A year later, on the 26th of July, President Bazoum in Niger is also ousted. Government is dissolved and the constitution suspended. Together, the three military regimes harden their attitude against France, whose forces are asked to leave Mali. All of them are withdrawn by the 15th of August 2022. Burkina Faso follows suit, and French forces leave in the following February. By the end of next year, they are also gone from Niger. The Central Sahel is now clear of its old colonial master, yet France's departure had left a vacuum, one that another power was all too happy to fill. As Mali's coup escalated in late 2021, Russia had noticed an opportunity to expand its influence in the region. It sent military advisors, mainly through the mercenary Wagner group, to help combat the insurgents. Their involvement coincided with a surge in civilian casualties, with 400 killed in the village of Mura. In July 2023, a Grand Russia-Africa Summit was held in St. Petersburg, followed by President Putin writing off $23 billion in African debt. Russian expansion is still growing in the region. Recently, in Niger, the ruling junta has finally cut ties with the West, inviting dozens of Russian soldiers, the Afrika Korps, to help train its army. By now, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have been isolated by the European Union, the United States, and the African Union. Turning their backs on the West Africa bloc, the three states joined together to sign a treaty of confederation in total rejection of the West, replacing them with Russian allies. This year, the US has also abandoned its main military outpost in Niger, Air Base 101 in Niamey, leading to the departure of 1,000 American troops. What happens next will define the future of West Africa and shape the wider continent. Throughout this story, it is crucial to remember the people of the Central Sahel. Sieges have occurred in at least 46 localities where war crimes and human rights violations have taken place. Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso consistently rank among the world's poorest countries, with accelerating issues of poverty, food insecurity, and high unemployment. The last decade of conflict has displaced 2.6 million people in Liptako Gourma and 2.8 million people in the Lake Chad Basin. Whilst the new military regimes have abandoned the West and turned to Russia, one must ask who is the true ally of the common people, who will give them peace and security, and who can fix the legacy of structural vulnerabilities, weak governance and weak borders, who will address the imbalance of state power, which tends to be concentrated in southern urban regions, while rural northern areas remain underdeveloped and ripe for exploitation by extremist groups. If you are an international relations or development student, perhaps these are questions you can help to answer. See the description for how we could do that together. What do you think? Who are the friends and enemies of the Sahel? What might the future hold for the region? Let us know in the comments.